think I'm gonna need to come up with some kind of catchphrase or intro. We'll workshop that. This is my first booktube. I've been thinking about starting one for a while. There's some friends that I follow, and thinking about starting one for a while. There's a lot of people that I follow and some friends who've been encouraging, so I thought I would take the plunge. Actually, when Crystal's Bookish Life posted about like, should I do Vlogmas, I was like, oh, I should obviously do that too, right? Like, clearly. And then I went and I bought a ring light to be like, this is me. I don't know, I think it was just, I was like, oh, Crystal's doing it, I should do it too, right? That's what I should do. Definitely took some figuring out, but we're gonna give it a go. I figure I annoy enough of my friends in their DMs talking about books that it might be wise to find a different avenue. It's been really fun, actually, documenting like what I'm reading, my thoughts. I think this is definitely going to be the first video. It will be Caroline. What's up, monkey? This is Caroline. She's a little punk. But it was really fun to kind of document like what I'm reading and my thoughts. I do think like even this week in and of itself was definitely a learning experience. I think next week will come off a lot cleaner, but the joy, I suppose, of doing any sort of creative process is that everyone starts out a little bit rusty. So, welcome. My name is Jacqueline, and this is, sorry, I'm gonna redo that. Putting on chapstick is very important. My lips are chapped. As I was saying, my name is Jacqueline. Welcome. So glad that you've stopped by. I'm going to talk about books a lot. Most likely they will have sex in them. They will be romance novels. That's what I read. I hope you guys stick around. Yeah. Good morning. This is Caroline. She hates me. Oh, she's gonna hang out on my desk for a bit. This is my first day of Vlogmas. I set a timer earlier for my tea, and it was good to cut me off for a bit because I was babbling, because this is my first video, which is exciting. I was inspired by Crystal's Bookish Life. Oh, now she wants out to do Vlogmas, and then also I think the Book Refuge and Crystal are doing, Jen of the Book Refuge and Crystal are doing the Romance Takeover readathon, because I am an inherently, I got her out. You're a punk. Because I am an inherently competitive person, mostly with myself. It's like, obviously I must do both of these reading challenges and create more work for myself because it's fun. So this is day one. It's like 9 right now. I've got work in about a half hour, but just want to do a quick check-in. This morning I finished Alyssa Cole's To Catch a Queen, which was really interesting. In some ways it was a little hard to read just because a lot of it dealt with like court politics and people who were so like ingrained in like their own power and their own improvement and their own vision for what a country needed, that they were really ignoring the people. And it rings a little too true right now, just with the shit show this year has been. So that was actually really interesting. I did also really like the way that she kind of married the traditional like fantasy of like being a queen and being royalty with a lot of the kind of painful and difficult like more political aspects that aren't often in like movies or books that deal with royalty. So finished it this morning, really good. I'm gonna write a review for that today and I need to post about it. So yeah, that's what I have this morning. Another release from yesterday, which is Tuesday. I know I'm a day late, doing my best. It's fine. Another review or book that released Tuesday was 10 Things I Hate About a Duke. And I'm very excited for that one. I'm starting that today because it is Taming of the Shrew / 10 Things I Hate About You, which is one of my favorite movies. I love Patrick Brona forever. So that's what I'm reading later. Like I said, I got work in a half hour, so I don't know how much I'll get done before this evening, but I will check back in later. So yeah, see you guys later.
Many hours later.
Heyo, I am just checking back in on my reading vlog. I did a little bit of reading today, not a ton, just because I've been working. I did start, I think I got through 2 chapters of Loretta Chase's 10 Things I Hate About the Duke, which, surprise to me, is indeed a bit of a spin on 10 Things I Hate About You, which is one of my favorite movies, so very excited about that. Here's hoping that it lives up to the deep love I have for A, that movie, B, Heath Ledger as Patrick Brona. Perfection. Fun fact, in high school I had my choir director arrange an a cappella version of the song that he sings, Can't Take My Eyes Off of You, for my girls' choir to ask a boy to a dance. That's how much I love this movie. So I got through the first, I think 2-ish chapters, and oh gosh, Caroline. Wow, you guys really lucking out here. Gonna hang out with this literal cool cat twice. Anywho, first few chapters, you get to meet the heroine who, oh gosh, what's her name? See that little whisker? Wow, she's having a great time. The first chapter, Cassandra, the heroine, is essentially, there's a lord who's trying to pass this bill where work can't be done on Sundays, which is super classist. It just means that rich people can do whatever they want and they can have their meals prepared for them, but you can't go to a coffee house or a restaurant to eat. And so this guy is trying to be all pious and cool, is yeah, this is why we should pass this bill, it's for the Sabbath to be sacred, religious stuff. And the heroine reads a bunch of essays from what would have, in my mind, would have been the New York Times, of different art, publications, to be yeah, this guy is an asshole and he is classist, and this bill he's trying to put in to be religious and a good person is really just screwing with anyone who's not super rich. And everyone in Parliament's oh, what? And also they call her the Gorgon, which one of my favorite Loretta Chase books is The Last Hellion, and the heroine in that one, oh gosh, I know her dog's name is Susan, I can't remember her name, which is sad. My sister would know. The heroine of that book is also referred to as the Gorgon, so it's little Chase-ism, I suppose. Also, it's a really good book. Danielle, my sister, thinks it is better than Lord of Scoundrels, which is debated by some to be the best Loretta Chase. I digress. I read that first chapter, brilliant. We cut to the dilettante isn't the word I'm thinking of. A word for a young, lazy, rich man who has nothing better to do than to duel. We get to the next chapter and the hero is waking up after being in a drunken stupor, and he is just dueled his best friend. Someone really wants to be heard right now. And so, thus far, entirely compelling, very much enjoying it. Anyways, that is what I've been reading. I'm probably gonna get a little bit more of 10 Things I Hate About the Duke. I don't know how I didn't realize that was a reference to my favorite 90s movie. It's a mystery to me. Tonight, we'll see, and then I'm hoping to finish that tomorrow, and then I'll write a review for both How to Catch a Queen and 10 Things tomorrow. I think next on my list, that's all of my arcs. I am doing a Secret Santa in the Wicked Wallflowers Coven, which is the Facebook page, and I want to read Demon Forged because it is, I have Sarah Hawley, who's one of the podcast hosts, and her favorite book, one of her favorite books is Demon Forged by Mel Jane Brooke, also Millivane, and I want to make her like a cool t-shirt design. We will see. I guess since this is being said now, I kind of have to do it, but I have to read the book so I can make like a cool reference, a shirt that's like a fun reference to the book. Anyways, that's something I would like to read soon. I also have Cordy Milan's The Duke Who Didn't. I have had that for a while. Haven't read it yet. I guess I've been like holding it, so I'm gonna read that soon too. See you guys later. Good morning. I hope that it's not too noisy. My sister is currently in a meeting, and we have some people working. Oh god, it's a little more kosher, more appropriate, I suppose. But I hope it's not too rowdy. My sister has a meeting in the other room, and we also our landlord is doing work on the basement, so it's been a little loud this morning. I'm just doing a quick check-in before work, but I'm, oh gosh, maybe 30% into 10 Things I Hate About the Duke. And I have a lot of feelings, which should be no surprise. Excuse me. So I think when I was going, like when I requested it, I was like, oh, this book is just sharing, cool title, sharing with like a popular movie, and then, so I didn't really have a lot of expectations, but then someone's like, oh yeah, no, it's Tammy the Shrew / 10 Things I Hate About You, like, based, and I love 10 Things I Hate About You, as has been previously mentioned, so I was like, oh my god, yes, I'm so ready for it, like, prepared, and I think, I don't know enough about Tammy the Shrew to like make any sort of judgment call there. Like what I remember from high school is what everyone probably remembers. But I think there are a number of ways that in my mind it doesn't hold up as 10 Things referential, other than like there's a few, the like Cameron character who, gosh, his name starts with a Morris, something like that. I'll check later. But he says like, oh, I burn, I pine, which is direct 10 Things reference. But I think that my biggest reasoning for saying it doesn't work as 10 Things is that while Cassandra is like very much has cat energy, like she's well spoken, she's like she's not going to take anyone's crap, like she is fearless in many ways, but I think like what makes that movie so compelling is that Kat and Patrick Verona, god, are like they're equally matched, and because of that, like it works as enemies to lovers, because like they can duel so well, like verbally, like they spar so well together, that it's like fun to watch the kind of sparks fly from like their verbal swords as it were. But in this book it's really like Cassandra is a brilliant person and the hero is like dumbstruck by her, so there isn't really lots of sparring. It's mostly like her being like, you're stupid, I don't have time for you, you dumb, rich, like privileged man, which like works because like this character is like the first time you see him, he's like just dueled his best friend and is drunk, like he's completely dissipated is what I was trying to think of yesterday. He's just like this dissipated rogue who's like always playing pranks. And so like her words are valid, but it's not my Patrick Verona. It's not, he's not Heath Ledger is really the problem here, which I mean is always a problem. But yeah, so I think like I'm really enjoying the book. Cassandra is incredible. And I love Loretta Chase's writing, but there's a part of me that's like, oh, I want this hero to be more like Heath Ledger, be like, what, you don't think I'm a pretty guy? And I just don't think that, oh god, what's the hero's name? Lucian, I think, or Lucius, one of the two. I don't think that he has that energy of like quick, like witty. I mean, he is, but he's just so dumbstruck by the heroine. Anyways, I'm circling. So I'm reading that right now. I am enjoying that. I mean, I just want more Heath Ledger. It's like more of the story. Reading that. I do need to figure out what I'm going to read next. I have a couple ideas, but we'll see. Today I want to finish that. And then I'll probably start a new book later. I'll keep you all posted.
Many hours later.
This is day 3 of Vlogmas. I think I checked in this morning, so you should already know that it's day 3. It's fine. Today I was reading 10 Things I Hate About the Duke by Loretta Chase. I'm about halfway in now, and I have like more thoughts. I'll lay them on you. So I have a lot of feelings about this book, and they're very complex because I love Loretta Chase. Like, her writing is so good. Like, it's, God. The writing is stunning, and like I have so many highlights, and I'm just like, giving me life, so good. But also, as I have mentioned, 10 Things I Hate About You is like one of my all-time favorite movies. Like, I watch it so much that I can like quote swaths of it. And there was like a 8-month period where I would just like watch it at least once a month because it feels good, and so you know. So I know this film very well. Also, like, Heath Ledger, incredible. R.I.P. So like, this book is incredible, and I think that it's really, the tricky thing is it's more of a Taming of the Shrew rewrite than 10 Things, and it's more like borrowing the name because of like the cultural intertextuality, that's the word, because of what people know it as. Because I would like read it and I'd be like, oh, like, give me Heath, like, who is this hero? And he's really not Heath Ledger at all. Like, he's not Patrick Verona, which is tragic if we're being honest. So it's I'm really having to kind of separate the two things in my head and like not think about this book as 10 Things. Because it'll be like there's one moment where one of the, Morris is the like friend who's in love with the heroine's sister, and he goes, oh, I burn, I pine, and that's a very specific scene in 10 Things I Hate About You, when they're in the lunch line and Cameron says, I burn, I pine, I perish, and Patrick goes, don't say shit like that, people can hear you. And I'm like, yes, we love it, but that I feel like is as close as they get to like referencing the film 10 Things. Like, okay, I'm just babbling at this point. What's really, I think, different is that in 10 Things I Hate About You, they start out not really liking each other, and they kind of antagonize each other until they're like, wait, this is fun, I think I'm into this. And there's also the aspect of like, he has a bet, and so like his only compulsion to do this is because someone else is telling him like, do this for money. But in this one, the heroine runs into the hero at the beginning, and he like has like an aha moment, like sunlight gleaming down, spotlighting this person, and he's like, oh my god, she's perfect, essentially. And then he's like, I need to be worthy of this woman, like I need to make myself worthy of her, because he's like a prankster. I'm a prankster. So it's just very different than the film, where like in this one he is so clearly pining for her, which I usually love. Like, I'd love a pining hero. I love a hero who's like desperate for the heroine, but I went into it expecting Heath Ledger, like the smirk, the like did you have an A? And I think it's not as like feisty, like they don't really fight. Like Cassandra, the heroine, who is incredible, so incredible, will like say something like intelligent and like quick, and he'll be like, yeah, you're right, yeah. And so instead of getting like the sparks that come from like a really good verbal sparring, it's most like he'll kind of like parry. I don't know enough about sword fighting, but like she'll attack and he'll be like, yeah, cool, like there's no like back and forth, like it's just like her. And I wish they fought more, which is not something I say often, but anyways, the book itself though, I am really enjoying when I separate it from the film. So yeah, that's been a really interesting read. I'm about halfway through. I'm hoping to finish that either tonight or tomorrow morning. And then I also realized there's an arc I am about halfway through that I need to finish. It's Any Rogue Will Do by Amy Bennett, which I am enjoying it thus far, but I paused to finish up a bunch of arcs that came out this week. So yeah, those are my thoughts on 10 Things I Hate About the Duke. The Duke. Just one. Specific one. And yeah, I'm gonna finish those up. I'll probably try and finish up Any Rogue Will Do. A rogue. There's a rogue. I'm gonna finish up Any Rogue Will Do, and then I think I am gonna pivot to some fantasy. So yeah, that is the move. I will check in tomorrow. Today is day 4. This morning I finished 10 Things I Hate About the Duke, and I really liked the second half. I feel like the second half of the book I was able to kind of distance the book from 10 Things I Hate About You, and once I did, like, the characters are fairly different. It's just like the heroine has similar like cat energy of like, I do what I want, I'm smart, I'm gonna do badass things. And I mean, Kat has a feminine mystique, Cassandra has vindication of the rights of women, like good parallels. Anyways, they're fairly different, like, and particularly I think the heroes are like the most different, and structurally also there's like not a ton of parallels, but I finished it. I really liked it. My one, like, it's not really a complaint, but like there's not much sex in this book, which isn't bad per se, but it's definitely preferred for me. But yeah, it's like not until like 80%, and I think it only happens once, so there's like, and then like there's some like heavy petting other places. But anyways, my one kind of side note, but it's really good. I think it's the second half where you like see them together and like they like each other, even if they're like not being honest about it. They like actually are like, and it's not just like he's the only person liking her, like she's also really likes him. And you get into the more like this whole thing where she like had met him when they were young, and they had this whole moment where like they were looking at the stars in this boathouse at her aunt's house. It was also it's not his aunt, somehow her aunt knows his family, and she like kind of fell in love with him, but then she kind of saw him as like this white knight, and then he was a punk for like from then on until where the book takes place, and so she felt like very much disappointed by him, but was so kind of like had this like torch, and so I feel like you see them kind of soften to each other in the second half. One of the things that I really loved is there was a scene where she's like with the Andromeda Club, where it's just kind of like educating women and giving like women, I don't know, like power, yeah, education, power, you know, things that women need at the time. Anyways, so they're at this club and she's like, hey, will you, usually I have Keith, who's like her coachman slash like tiger is maybe the term, I don't know, bodyguard is probably the best comparable term. But in the beginning of the book, I don't know, I didn't describe this book very well at the beginning, did I? I should do that now. 10 Things I Hate About the Duke starts with the heroine running into the hero right after he's drunkenly dueled his best friend, which is the hero of book one, because hero of book one steals Lucius's bride-to-be. So he's just dueled his friend, he's super drunk, he almost killed the friend, and afterwards he shoots his gun into the air, and it spooks the heroine's horse because she's driving with her sister, her maid, and Keith, who bodyguard essentially. And the horses get spooked, and Keith is thrown and injured, and he I can't remember exactly what happens, but he's like ill and he can't really move. And so that's when the hero's like, oh my gosh, it's this beautiful woman, I'm into her, but he's also very drunk. And she's like, this man is useless. And what you don't know is she knew him as a child and was like, oh, like you're incredible, but now he's an adult and he's useless, and she's like disappointed. So they meet, and that thus begins his campaign to like get her to like him. And the whole time she's kind of like, no, like, you man-child, I don't need you. Why would I consider you? And that happens for a while. But like he kind of seeks her out, and like they slowly kind of build this repartee. And then, like I was saying, she asks him to, they start sending letters because she dictates a letter Keith dictates a letter to Cassandra for the Duke, with like some questions. The Duke responds, so then they start corresponding, and she's like, I need someone to go with me to the Andromeda Club because we're going to be doing something that will require like a dude. And what you find out is that it's like fighting, so he has to like, she wants to demonstrate how you can use an umbrella as a weapon. So they have this whole scene where they're fighting, and like it is utterly delicious. It is like quick, and I think up until then it very much felt like her like being like herself, like very much like Kat in 10 Things I Hate About You, where she's quick, she's smart, and like aggressive. And I mean that word has negative connotations, which I don't like, but like maybe proactive, like her barbs are proactive. And he just kind of takes it, like I said, I think I said this yesterday, where like she'll say things, he'll be like, okay, like it's just a defense, he's not like responding in kind. And this was like the first time where I felt like they were both like equally circling each other, like duelists. So that was great. And like afterwards they're like all exerted because they've been dueling, and I think they're just arguing, but they kiss, and they're caught, and so they have to be engaged. But she's like, I don't want to be engaged to you, I don't want to marry you. But he this whole time has been like, marry me, I'm into you. And she's like, you're making this shit up. So they fake this engagement, but from the beginning he's like, yeah, I'm gonna try and get you to have this be a real engagement. So that's essentially what happens. I will say there was this whole subplot with like a politician who like liked her, that didn't, in some ways was kind of like, huh, but in the end, like some of the conflict worked there. There was a scene, there's a woman who like is a friend of Cassandra's mom who like uses him to blackmail Cassandra later because he sees something, and I loved like the family response to that. It was awesome. The dueling was my favorite. Another thing that I saw that was like interesting is like I was looking at like reviews for the first book because I hadn't remembered it, so I like looked at the Goodreads page, and one of the reviews that someone had said was that in the first book it was really odd because the hero was like painted to be this, oh gosh, disreputable duke. Yeah, and like he was like this bad boy, he was a rogue, and someone had responded like he was described as a rogue, but like he never acted like a rogue. Like he may have like been in the past, but in this book he's just like a nice person who's like trying to like make sure this girl's like doesn't ruin herself. And I kind of felt this way about this one, in that like he was described as such a rogue. There was one scene where he was like kind of pulling pranks, but it wasn't like anything was really happening, and so like he kept being described as this like terrible, like prankster who like ruins things, people don't trust him, but like his actions pretty much throughout, other than the first scene where he was like super drunk, were like very honorable. So it made that aspect kind of like I wanted to see the work, but it didn't take away from my enjoyment of the book. So yeah, I really enjoyed it. I haven't read a Loretta Chase in a while, and I like, whenever I don't read an author for a while, I forget how the writing feels, and I started reading this book, and like the writing is so stunning. I know I've said this before, because I'm like, oh, I keep highlighting all the time, but like, it's just beautiful, and I also felt like I could see the ways that this was alluding to Shakespeare, because it's also off Taming the Shrew, because there was like this whole thing with the hero's uncle Frederick and the heroine's aunt, I think Janet something Chambers, and like the two would like talk over, like the heroine and the hero were off in their corner like duking it out, and then Uncle Frederick and Cassandra's aunt were like, how long is it going to take for these two losers to figure out they're in love with each other? And it very much kind of felt like, I mean, it like had that same kind of feeling of like people like overseeing. I don't know, it felt Shakespearean to me. I loved that. And they were very cute. Also now I like want their book where they're like scheming and he's like been in love with her and they're both these like wealthy courtiers who like, I don't know, do rich things with the royal people. Anyways, so I finished that book. I would probably say, I mean, it took me a while to kind of get past that, like, this is not going to be 10 Things I Hate About You. But once I did, I really enjoyed it. Yeah, I would probably give that 4 stars because I had to, like, get over that, and also I wanted there to be more banging. Whoops. But yeah, I really enjoyed that. I also just finished the audiobook. I've been doing audio. There's a group read of Immortals After Dark that I'm doing with some of the gals from like Seasonally Booked Up, and we're reading Immortals After Dark. We just finished Pleasure of a Dark Prince, which was interesting, and I forget all the time. I forgot how dark it is. It's like really sad. It might be, I think that the saddest of the Immortals After Dark books, like emotionally heavy, are this one, Pleasures of a Dark Prince. There's lots of darks. Dark Needs After Dusk, Dark Desires at Night's Edge. Those are totally mixed up, but you know. Oh god, Demon from the Dark is the next book, and it's my favorite. Ooh, I love Malcolm. Anyways, Pleasures of a Dark Prince, McReeve, and Dreams of a Dark Warrior. There's Another Dark are really like the most emotionally heavy. Like there's lots of like trauma. There's lots of childhood trauma. Not that, anyways. So it just makes those books like harder. But that one was really good. I love the audiobook. Robert Petkoff is incredible. The accents kill me. So, excuse me. So I finished that audiobook. I finished 10 Things I Hate About the Duke. I think this weekend I'm gonna start the audio for The Sea Witch by Katie Robert, because that just released and I'm excited to hear it. And I'll finish up Any Rogue Will Do, and then next week I'll start the audio for Demon from the Dark. Ugh. I love Malcolm so much. He's my fave. Anyways, I will check back in later. I'm not sure if I'll be able to read before this evening, but I will have started The Sea Witch. So, you'll hear from me.
Many hours later.
To quote Princess Mia, this is as good as it's gonna get. I'm scrubbing a bit because it is past midnight. I'm not gonna check, my phone's right there. It's very late, but wanted to check in, rereading. Anyways, I started listening to The Sea Witch by Katie Robert, because the audio released today, and I've read the book. I read it as an arc. I only read it once this fall, but I'm like slowly buying all of the audiobooks in Katie's series because I'm obsessed with her. Whoops. And they're so good. Oh my god. The Sea Witch is incredible. The narrators are all really good. I think my favorites, The thing about audiobooks is I feel like the women tend to be better at doing like male voices than the men are at doing female voices, or maybe feminine. That was really gendered. Sometimes the voice actor portraying the hero, when trying to pitch it in like a higher tone, it doesn't quite hit as nicely as the voice actor portraying the heroine, trying to cast their voice lower to imitate the hero. Usually the heroine voicing as the hero sounds better in my mind, and it hasn't bothered me as much in the Wicked Villain series, but in this one it's like, the women win this round, my dude. It is what it is. Which, I mean, unsurprising. That was an interesting face. Anyways, listening to the audiobook, it is incredible. I've been really enjoying the voice actors. I want to say I'm like maybe a third of the way through it, because I listen on like 1.3 to 1.5 depending on how like fast the pace is of the narrator, and I typically listen faster if it's contemporary because it's not always as exciting as, or at least it's not always as fast paced as like Cressley Cole, Torture Island, you know. But I'm probably about a third, and the premise of The Sea Witch, if you have not read it, it's like a Zuriel is like Ariel, Alaric, I think they say Alaric in the audiobook, and Ursa, and Ursa is like an in Carver City, there's like different territories, and Ursa runs the territory, but she used to live in Olympus, which is where Zuriel is from. They're all from, actually, Olympus. Zuriel, Alaric, and Ursa are all from Olympus. And Zuriel's father kicked both of them out. God, so many names. Zuriel's father kicked out Alaric and Ursa for various reasons, and they have come together to enact their revenge upon Triton by stealing his daughter from them. So Zuriel runs into Alaric, he like seduces her, wins her over, and it's like, oh, I'm like gonna be like, he makes a deal with Hades. So it's like, oh, I have a deal with Hades, like, I'm gonna be captured, like, oh. And she's like, I'll save you, because she's like, wants good things for people and is in love with him. So she leaves Olympus to go save Alaric but in order to get the money to buy him out of his deal with Hades, there is a virginity auction of Zuriel. And Zuriel goes to the Sea Witch, who like kind of helps facilitate this, Ursa. And there's this whole bidding situation, and Meg from Learn My Lesson, and I mean, she's in the whole series, but her book is Learn My Lesson with Hades and Hercules. And then Aurora like run it. Like Aurora is like she's like the suitcase person, except she like touches the suitcase and it's more sexual. And then Meg is like the MC, and it's a wild scene. But I think that it's really interesting because I think virginity auctions and romance tend to be like something that is kind of foisted upon the heroine, but she like feels icky about it, and she's like, oh, this is my only option, and she like feels like it's very like shameful and it's very uncomfortable. And something that I really like about Katie Roberts as an author is that like when she writes about sex, there's nothing shameful about it unless like that's your kink. Like there's nothing like while it is something that Zuriel is like a little bit uncomfortable with because it's not something that she's experienced, she's not like, oh my god, like I just feel so awful about myself, like, oh, I'm just terrible. Because who wants that in a romance novel? So I love how like, even though she's like untutored per se, she's not like really like grossed out by it. She's like, oh, so this is kind of doing it for me, I guess. A little bit of like, this is new territory, but like she's down for it. So I love that. That whole auction scene is incredible. But then at the end, Ursa takes the bid and she's like, oh, like this is weird, I didn't expect it to be Ursa, but like it's okay, I'm doing this to save Alaric. And then Caro, one sec. Munchkin, I'm gonna pick you up now. You're about to hate me. Ooh, baby. So, Ursa bets on her, and she's like, oh, it's okay, it's for Alaric. But then, when she's doing this whole, it's like virginity auction, but like also a week. Like, so she's with this person for a week, person being Ursa. And she's like with Ursa for the first time. And as I think that Ursa is like giving her head, and Alaric walks in, and Zuriel's like, oh my god, like what? What's going on? And they're like, surprise, bitch. This is revenge. And it's so interesting because they're so mad at each other. Like, particularly Alaric and Zuriel. And like Ursa's kind of like pulling strings like a puppet master. It's fascinating. Really fascinating. And the other thing that's really interesting is Alaric is like a masochist. Yes, masochist. Sometimes I confuse masochist and sadist. So like there's a scene after he and Zuriel get into a fight, and he's like really angsty about it, as heroes are. He like goes to Ursa and he's like, I need you to like take my mind off things. And she whips him. And it's funny, there's like a comment, she's like, I've had to start working out more. Not to him, but in her mind, she's like, I've had to start working out more now that I'm like scening with Alaric, because he's like, it's a workout. It's strains your muscles. So yeah, and I feel like that was really interesting because like in romance, or at least romance that I've read, often when there's like whipping, it's like a, like, I mean, whipping is always inherently kinky, but it's often like a sexual thing, or it's a punishment. So it's either like a punishment or it's like getting someone off. But I thought it was really interesting because in this case, it wasn't like Alaric, like it wasn't a sexual kink, it was like a, just like cathartic. So that was really interesting. I feel like I don't always see that. At least I don't remember what I've seen that in romance, so yeah, I loved that. So I think next week we were gonna do another Immortals After Dark book, but I think we're taking a break so people can catch up if they're not caught up. So next week I'm gonna have to find another audiobook, tragic. I think I'll be able to get through the Katie Robert Sea Witch. I almost said the Sea Queen. Sea Witch. Probably this weekend. I'll be on the lookout for a good audiobook. I tend to stick to fantasy or paranormal. I'm really picky about my audiobooks. Mostly I just like to listen to Cressley Cole with a few other things that I mean, like this, and Nalini Singh. But yeah, oh, and what's her face? Kate Daniels, Ilona Andrews. So yeah, mostly I just rotate through those. We'll see what happens next. I'm gonna finish my arc of the Bethany Bennett book. Any Rogue Will Do. Any Rogue Will Do. That's up next. I gotta get new library books. I had like a whole slew of like, I posted about an arc every day this week. I had 6 arcs this week that I got through. Very proud of myself, but also now I'm like, I don't have any more. What do I do now? So that's what's up next. I will check in tomorrow. Alright, I am back with another reading update. So I actually, I DNF'd the arc I was trying to finish of Bethany Bennett's Any Rogue Will Do. I think it was one that I was like enjoying, but it was just a little slow for me. Like I felt like when I was like first started reading it, and then I paused to read a bunch of arcs that came out this week, and I just couldn't pick it back up. Like I just couldn't get back into it. And I think to me, I just, like the books that I have been reading, mostly Cressley Cole, are like so, like the books I've been reading more recently, and like Cressley Cole, Alyssa Cole, Good Coles, and like Loretta Chase, like there are books that were like faster, and like I think like the plot had a lot more momentum. And so I went back to this book, and it is a debut, and so like I think on the one hand, like you've got Alyssa Cole, Cressley, and Loretta Chase, who are all like people who've been writing for forever and are so good. And I think it was just like hard to go back to a book that just like felt slower in pace. So I didn't have any issue with it. It's just that I don't think it was bad. It just it was a little slow for what I wanted. So I picked up Hot Rabbi. Okay, I had to check, but the author of Hot Rabbi is Aviva Blakeman. I hope I said her name right. I got this one, it was on sale, and Beth of Be In Her Books had tweeted about it, and I was like, this seems right up my alley. I'm reading that, I want to say I'm like 60% through right now. I'm really enjoying it. I don't know, I think my friends tease me about liking books about like priests and vicars or whatever, and it is what it is. I think the appeal for me is like if they're in a position of an authority thing, if they're in a position of like authority and like they're like leaders, and there's also a sense of like higher purpose. I mean, not necessarily higher, but just like there's a sense of like they have this like purpose that they are like living towards. There's a lot of like devotion and dedication. And I think also just this like sense of like having probably been through some shit and like having to like meditate for whatever like that can mean to you. So yeah, there's a lot of reasons why books about spiritual, yes, I mean leaders, but I think specifically spiritual. I think also there's just like the taboo of like, ooh, it's a priest. Also Fleabag, like come on, who has not watched that show and been like, would I? Anyways, peek into my psyche. So I'm reading Hot Rabbi, and it's delightful. The book, like the heroine is, they never explicitly state like her sexuality, but she's like dated both men and women. So I guess bi or pan, but, and she, like her family was Jewish, and like I think her dad was a big deal in the church, but we don't know why yet. But she kind of stepped away and like hasn't been back, or I shouldn't say church, she shouldn't step back to the synagogue and like the whole community that she grew up in a while, I think 10 years. But like several of her friends, two of her friends, their sisters, Abby and Leah. Also the heroine's name is Shoshana. So Shoshana has not like been back to like the like synagogue and that whole community for like 10 years, except for her friends Abby and Leah, who are sisters. In the beginning of the book, Leah's like, Shoshana, girl, you have to come just to see the hot new rabbi. And so she does, and immediately like they're like eyeing each other across the church and like synagogue, sorry. Growing up in my family is Christian, so I habit is to say church. Growing up, eyeing each other across the synagogue, he says, like in his mind, like, oh, I've never flubbed a service. God, I should remember these proper terms. I'm doing my best, sorry. He's like never flubbed so badly, but apparently no one else guesses. And they go to the like, there's a word. I can't remember the word, but it's like the word for like the meal. It's not really a meal. It's kind of like snacks afterward, post synagogue snacks. I should really try to remember the words from the book. Anyways, and he like walks up to her when her friends like have to go like check something with a coffee machine, and she's like, oh shit, I don't know any of these people, what should I do? I haven't been here in 10 years. Well, she knows them, but like she hasn't been here in 10 years. She's like feeling awkward, and the rabbi walks up and is like, hey, and they kind of start chatting, and he like asks for her phone number. He asks for her phone number like right away. Well, not right away, at like a respectable time, but he's like, I am into you. And she's kind of caught off guard, doesn't really know what to do, but she's also like, okay, yeah, fine. I guess I'll give you my phone number. And it's really interesting because like he immediately is like, oh, no. Again, respectable time, but like he starts texting her, he asks for a date, and like the whole time she's like kind of unsure, and I think it's just because whatever happened with her dad, like she kind of has like a bad taste in her mouth, and like she's kind of nervous about, because she doesn't believe in God, she doesn't like her, I don't know if she's like spiritual at all, but like she's not engaging in any sort of like faith or faith-based community, and I think she misses the community aspect is kind of what I'm picking up, but she like doesn't want to, like the idea of dating a rabbi is intimidating because like there's lots of demands on him and on his time, and like she's like, I'm not the person, like I'm not going to be like the perfect wife, like I'm not going to want to chair committees, like I'm not, like, I mean, it's not like she's saying she's gonna be wife, but she like sees all of these potential responsibilities of like being with the rabbi, and it kind of makes her anxious, and he's like, I just like you, like I want to date you, like, and it's really sweet. His name is David, by the way. And I really like, I don't know, I think that I relate to like Shoshana's kind of like, what are the consequences of this situation, and like kind of feeling hesitant re-entering a space that she hasn't inhabited for a while, and it's like hot, like they're at dinner and she's like not eating because she's nervous, and he's like, if you take a bite then you can tell me something that you want to do later, and she's like, oh, like something hot, and he's like, yeah, totally. And so it slaps, it slaps with the equipment. It's very hot. It's very sweet. It's not like, I wouldn't say it's like priest level because it's not really kinky, but pretty spicy or something that is. But it's really lovely and kind of like heartwarming. Oh, and he has a daughter who's very cute, and she accidentally locks herself in like a display case at Shoshana's store. Not accidentally. She wants to be locked in there because there's like taxidermy mice. It's great. So definitely enjoying Hot Rabbi. I've also listened to more of The Sea Witch, not a ton, but I'm enjoying that. That's where I'm at right now. I have book club in about 30 minutes, and we're talking about Spoiler Alert, which I loved. I haven't reread it for book club, which may be a bad call, but I read it back in October when it released and really loved it. It's pretty nerdy. And it's very much like a love letter to people who like Game of Thrones and did not like the showrunners and what they did to that last season. So, and it's just like lovely and heartwarming, and like two good people trying their best to be in love and be okay. Which like isn't always the vibe. Sometimes I want like people who are like mean to each other. But this one was just like really delightful. So I'm excited to talk about that. After I read Hot Rabbi, I really need to pick up, I'm gonna see if they have it in the library, Demon Forged by Mel Jean Brooke. I also have an arc by B.B. Reed, I think called Lilac, that comes out on the 7th that I want to start soon. So yeah, that's on the schedule for me, I think. It's Saturday, so it's, oh gosh, day 5 of Vlogmas, maybe. And I think I'm gonna do, I'm gonna chat probably again tonight, and then, although tonight, actually I'm really excited. Tonight I have a coven chat with friends from the Wicked Wallflowers Coven on their Facebook page. It's like the page for the Wicked Wallflowers Club podcast. And there's a group of us. I mean, it's kind of open, it's definitely open to whoever wants to join, but there's like a squad that usually stops by. And we sometimes we'll have drinks, we'll chat about books. Sometimes when I have the energy and time to put together games, we play games, which is really fun. But I have that tonight. So I won't be reading super late tonight, but I'll probably get a little bit in this afternoon. And then tomorrow, I think I'm gonna edit and post my first video. So I'm very excited, very nervous, mostly excited. I'm realizing as I've been doing these that I do a lot of things with my hands, which is like not news to me, but also make a lot of dumb jokes, and sorry in advance. It is what it is. this is my last update for the first week of Vlogmas. I actually didn't get quite as much reading done today, and I didn't check in again on Saturday because I was on the coven call and it was really fun, and Jenny Nordenbach stopped by, which was great. She's awesome. I didn't read very much. I did finish Hot Rabbi by Aviva Blakeman today, and I really liked that one. I think I definitely already kind of explored, or explained, pardon, what it was about and how I found it. I liked the ending. I think one thing I really liked is essentially the black moment happens when they break up because the hero gets kind of irrationally upset about something. Not that it's I think the heroine stops by to see his daughter at preschool, and he hears about it and kind of loses it. And I really liked, because as he was talking to her, he says something that's kind of unforgivable, and he knows it immediately and is like, oh shit, that was a bad call. And I liked that there wasn't a moment where he thought that his reaction was justified, or that his he knew right off the bat oh, that was a really shitty thing to do and I've potentially just ruined this. So yeah, that really worked for me. I feel it'll often happen where the hero thinks that he's super justified in saying something awful, and then he's like, oh wait a minute, that was really lame of me, I suck. But in this case he's like, oh yeah, no, I am a dirtbag, I am the worst. I really loved how, I think at the beginning of the book, it talks about how the heroine, Shoshana, was kind of on an island, or that whole I am an island thing where she didn't really have a ton of people, she just had her friends Leah and Abby. And as the book, it kind of showed that as she opened herself up a little bit more, there were people who genuinely cared about her and wanted to know her. And then at the end, when she's not doing super well because she's a little bit emotionally devastated by this breakup, they all kind of show up and they're like, hey, we know you're not doing well, and that's okay, but we want to help take care of you. I really liked that. It was a great read. I would say 4 stars. I feel the one thing that I was kind of curious about, and maybe it's something that's within Jewish culture that I don't understand, but I feel a lot of books where one of the protagonists is very religious and the other isn't, there has to be some kind of reckoning of faith. Particularly in Priest by Sierra Simone, or The Lord I Left by Scarlett Peckham. There's kind of a moment where they have to reconcile their faith with this partner who isn't super religious, and I feel we never really had that moment in this book. It was just David is a rabbi and Shoshana is not religious and doesn't believe in God, but there's never kind of a conversation about that. And I did say I expected that, or I would say that I expected that, and I was surprised that that didn't really happen. But I didn't feel I do think it would have, I more felt its lack perhaps because I was interested to see what that would be between the two of them, but it didn't weaken the story to not have that. I was just curious, which is unsurprising, pretty on brand for me. So yeah, I finished that one. I actually just got an arc of the Best of Women's Erotica, and that comes out on the 8th, which is in 2 days. So I'm probably going to start that next, and I'm really excited because I know Naima Simone and Elia Winters, and oh god, there's at least one other author that I know who's doing a short story. And I've heard really good things, so I'm stoked to start that one. And then I keep meaning to start Demon Forge by Mel Jane Brooke, but that's also on the list. So those will be books I read for week 2 of Vlogmas. This has been really fun. I'm excited to continue.